Are random numbers causing your embedded Swift projects to crash? In this video, I'm going to show you how to fix that. So let's take a look at what's going on. So to start off, let's look at my configuration. I've got an LED matrix that I've got connected over USB power here. It's probably not the recommended thing. I do have a power plug that I can also connect, but it didn't reach my standing desk, so I unplugged that, and I'm just running with this one instead. And so this board just keeps resetting. This is the ESP32 6C from SparkFun, is the Thing Plus. And I'm playing around using this to drive the LED panel, but since we're crashing, we've got problems. So let's take a look at what's going on here. This is just gonna keep on doing this boot thing, and it's actually, it might be difficult to stop. Sometimes I have to do control square bracket. Let me turn on Keycaster so you can follow along. So control square bracket, right square bracket, if that's gonna like me, start casting. So this hotkey that you can see in the bottom left, that will stop this. Sometimes it won't stop if it's like in this like hard loop and it's really like failing. And it just takes a little bit of time. So let's see what's going on. When you get into situations like this, it's probably because you're going out of bounds or something weird's happening. We do have some print statements that get printed as soon as this executes. So we can see that we've got some print statements in my sample application, which you can download this project if you want to play around with it in the link down below. And you can play around with it there. So we're getting an abort, and it's in this new lib syscall. And this is in the ESP environment. So this is your ESP-IDF framework, and it's going into the system, and I don't know what all is going on in here. That's all of your stack frames. That's somewhere in here we should see something. There's this new lib init. So like something's wrong with new lib, and then we also see system random number generator. So I think there's two separate issues that we have to fix. And this is taking me a while to understand sort of how to fix this. And I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, so let's prove that it's actually a problem. I'm going to comment out this line, and then we're going to go ahead and build and flash the device. So let's wait for it. And then what we would expect is we'll see the animation actually work. So I've got an animation that's playing on these LEDs, and if we go ahead and run, now that animation starts up, and you can see that it is animating. Now I am using a USB cable for the 5-volt power, and something about this connection might not be as solid as I need, so I might need to switch over to my power supply cable that I've hooked up. You only want to use one of those. You don't want to use both, or the power will compete and potentially fry this guy. So we got to be careful about that. Okay, so that is running off of here. It is just animating, and it's the random numbers that are causing this crash. Now, to fix this, we can get this code to compile, but to do that, we're going to need a patch. And I've sort of modified this patch. So I finally figured out how to do this. This took me a while. Over here, this issue, I'm going to have a link for this. There's two different patches that I downloaded, but I couldn't apply the one. So these are the same type of people having issues, unable to build the LED light strip. And to fix it, one of the engineers from Espressify has posted two different patches. I didn't realize there was two separate ones for two separate issues here. But there's this new lib get entropy patch, which I found there's a commit that's got that. And then there's another one down later on that also fixes another issue. And that should work. I didn't understand how to apply this or where this was, because this is the issue I'm looking at is under the Swift embedded examples, and it wasn't clear to me that this was on the ESP side. I didn't realize that, so I needed to update that. So what I have done is, if you look, I'm in the ESP install location. And if we were to go ahead and... Too many things open. If we were to go ahead and run, this is going to be crashing again, so we won't see any of the colors. So once this goes ahead, and if this can flash, let's see if it can finish. Okay, so it should be flashing right now, and we'll see that the LED is going to go dead because it's doing basically a kernel panic, and it keeps resetting. So it's not actually running. Oh, you can't. Sorry. Couldn't see it because I had the wrong window open. So it's doing this like kernel panic. It's constantly resetting. It's not running any of our code beyond the initial start. So I'm going to just stop that before it goes totally out of control with the control right square bracket. Okay, so you need to find your ESP install location. And then once you have that, I've got git log here. So this is a tag that I have. I had installed the 5.2.2. I just made, since it was in a detached head state, I just made a branch called ESP 5.2.2 so that I could keep track of these different things. I was playing around with the code and I wanted to see what would fix it. So I took those two patches, figured out how to make it work for this. It may or may not work for you, and that's going to look something like this. So this is the patch, and I'll have a link for this patch file somehow. Probably on my blog post or something. I still have to figure out how, or I'll link it to this actual GitHub issue. I'm not sure which. Anyway, if I apply this, so if I look at, I have stashed this changes, but I could apply it. So we're going to do git apply, and then I've saved this to my desktop. And then this is ESP32 6C random crash fix for the IDF software 5.2.2. If you're on a different version, you probably might not be able to apply these changes verbatim. You might have to sort of find the related code. The one that was different for me, I think, was this one. There was some kind of code change where multiple things were included on a single line, which made it so that this didn't apply automatically. So I had to search for this in the project and update it myself. Okay, so if we go ahead and try this git apply to the patch, if we do a git diff, we should see that it has now applied these different changes. And I'll just quit out of that. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to build it. So you can build it in either place. I don't think there's anything you need to do. Like once any of these files changes, I think it gets picked up automatically by this build system. So you don't need to like clean everything and rebuild, though I think it will potentially do a clean build. Let's find out. So I'll do a Command-Shift-P and we'll build Flash and start a monitor and see what this does. So CMake runs, then IDF runs, and now it's going to rebuild everything. So the changes we made caused it to want to rebuild all of the source. So we're going to wait for that. While that's happening, I'm probably going to lose some frames. It looks like my camera's not keeping up because all of the CPU is going towards building, which is kind of weird. That like takes over everything. Okay, so it just finished, and so we should sort of be back to normal. And now if we look, we can see that it is running. And I'm not actually printing the random number, but we could be printing random numbers. So if we move this down here, and then we print and we run it one more time. So it's going to rebuild just the files that we changed. It's not going to have to rebuild everything. We should get this working again. Okay, and so now we see random numbers are working. And if we're looking at the display, we see that it is doing the animation that I have hooked up. Okay, so that's how to fix this. Hopefully that was helpful. I was trying to figure out, so the next thing that I'm doing that I haven't done yet, because I kind of wanted to capture this, is I want to see, does this issue fix itself if I check out the latest version? So why don't you stick around if you want to learn if that's true, if we can figure this out. This might take a little bit more time, but I'm going to see if we can get that to work. Okay, I haven't tried this yet. It may or may not send us down a rabbit hole. I might end up just cutting this and ending right here because it didn't work. And then I'll just talk about that rather than go through the whole process. All right, the other thing that I'm going to do, this, it's a little annoying that it is working because it's so bright. So these LEDs are a little bit too bright. So I use a piece of paper to diffuse it. I think you have to be careful if the LEDs get too hot, but this makes it so that it's not as vibrant in my eyeballs as I'm sitting here working on some of the other code. So a little piece of paper, just make sure it's not getting too hot. And that's why I have the intensities pretty low in this sample code. Okay, so let's play around with what I've sort of figured out. So I'm going to just stash these changes. I don't want these changes right now. And I've got 2 branches here. So I checked out the latest one. So we're just going to switch over to that. So looking back over here, it looked like everyone else was kind of running on ESP. So here's a 5.4 dev branch. So maybe it might make sense to move to that versus one of these release branches, but I just don't want to have so many changes. So the steps that we initially did to install this were these steps, and this was for the 5.2.1. I installed 5.2.2 because I saw that there was a later version that had come out, and I figured it might have some changes, but it was also risky because I didn't know if it was going to introduce other problems. I don't know if I would go, the matter stuff we're not going to worry about. We're just focused on IDF, so that doesn't really matter. Okay, so once you do this, I saw all these component changes. I don't know why I'm seeing this, but I think the other step that we need to do is we need to run the install script. And I was a little hesitant to do that in case it would break something. So let's go ahead and see what happens. And this might take longer than I'm expecting. I have so many questions and I don't know how any of this really works, except that it's got to install things, and it's probably got to install things for each of these and potentially other things that we don't see in this change list. So let's see what it does. I don't know if I should just check out a separate copy and have 2 different versions of the ESP software. I guess it depends on how brittle this is. Like if this totally breaks my development environment, I'm just going to use the patch. But if I can work around it, then I'll just do this and see if this solves the problem. So while this is compiling, it may or may not work. Okay, so now that worked, and I've got the little script to, so if I go to mate CSHRC, I've got the little script down here to get IDF. Okay, so I don't know why search doesn't work. I swear it's in here. Okay, I don't know why I don't see it in this file. Unless I put it in, I don't think I put it anywhere else. I don't know if search is just totally failing and my eyes can't find it. So now, where are we? I'm going to open up Visual Studio. We're going to end this with the keyboard shortcut Control right bracket. We're going to try and build, flash, and start and monitor. I did this so this is on the command line. Potentially might be some problems. We might need to do a full clean, it looks like. Let's see if we get the same type of thing over here. So this was saying run this command. So, okay, so we might need to run this command. Just try it in terminal first, see what happens. Right. Oh, okay. I'm trying to build in the ESP folder, so that's probably not going to help. It'd be in this one that I would run that command. Nope, not that one. Okay, so we see the version is seen there, and then we're going to do IDF. Let's just do the get IDF, which is going to pull in all the path stuff, and then we'll do idf.py build. Okay, I don't know if I messed up stuff. Okay, so it is building stuff. We're making a little bit more progress. Whether or not this fixes the random numbers, I'm not sure yet. Getting close to maybe working, maybe not. Okay, it built. Let's see if I can flash and then monitor. Not fixed. Okay. How do I stop this? This gets me every time. Control square bracket, right square bracket. And now if I don't get this soon enough, it like goes through a bunch of cycles that are like queued up and it doesn't seem to respond to my input. Now it finally stopped. Okay. And let's see if we can diagnose what's going on. So there's a kernel panic still about arc4 random. Still the new lib stuff. Okay, I thought some of this was applied, but maybe it's not. It's still not in this release. Okay. So let's go back to ESP and let's see if we can do a git apply and then that ESP patch. Okay, so both of the patches failed. So I think we're going to manually have to modify it. And so we're going to just look to see if we can find this symbol. Okay, so we found that symbol, and what do we need to have? We're missing these two lines. Don't want the pluses. Keep the space. Just using spaces here. So I added 2 lines. And then the mod hash is right after this symbol. So let's look for mapping flash text. Okay, now this has changed again. This was all in one here, but now it's different. So we're going to need this line first. Okay, so that is right after the mapping flash text. And then we're going to go to, I'm pretty sure this was added, but I'm not positive, the CMakes lists. How do we get to that? Okay, so we're just going to see if we can open this file. So it's going to be in the components. All of this is in the ESP stuff. New lib, get entropy. Okay, so it opened up this file. And we're looking to see, does this so we just have to add this function. Get rid of those pluses. And then we have to see if the CMake list has this. So I'm going to also say open components. And then we're going into new lib / CMake lists. Okay, so that opens the other file, and we're going to look for this. It's only listed once. And it doesn't have this commit. So it looks like we have to apply this as well. Save it. Okay. So now I have a different setup. Whoops, we don't want Xcode. Okay. So that solves that. We're adding it here in our CMakes lists. And then where did that other file go? Okay. So, oh, did Xcode open it? Is that why Xcode appeared? Yeah, Xcode opened it. So we can just close that, hide Xcode. Okay, so that's kind of how I want it. Let's make this not as big. And we're going to jump back over here. Okay, so currently this is the ESP folder. So I'm going to go back to my project and we're going to do a idf.py build. That should build, but we never know. These changes might break things, so I have no idea. It worked the last time. We're going to drop frames again. And while that's going, I'm just going to hit cancel over here. And then, so we're going to test it on the command line first, and then we'll test it in Visual Studio and see if that one can pick up the changes. Hopefully it doesn't need to rebuild again. I think it'll just use the build directory because we're just building in the same spot. Okay, so now idf.py flash install, flash monitor. And we're working. All right. So it built, it's running. Cool. So that is how to apply these patches. Apparently you still need them on the latest, and the patch is a little bit different for this version versus the last version. So I'll have both patches as options to install. Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully this gets you unstuck. And it looks like we need some kind of way of tracking this issue over on the Expressify thing. Like they don't seem to have it lined up in any of their releases, and we're gonna need a commit to make this work for this platform. Okay, so let's stop that. And let's just double check that I can still build with this. All right, so it's building here as well. Excellent. And we can stop that from monitoring so that we're done. So that's how to do it. I'll have links for these different things and the patches to fix the problem for both, I guess, what is it, 5.2.2 as well as 5.3.1, because the issue still exists there as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video. And if you have any questions, check out the blog post down below or reach out on the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.